All right, let's return to our top story, and that is the third anniversary of the July 15th, 2016 coup. Now, Huseyin Alptekin is a faculty member at Istanbul Sehir University's Department of Political Science and International Relations, and he joins me live in the studio. Huseyin, good to have you on. Now, one of the areas that you specialize in is terrorism studies. Tell us more about how FETÖ, the Fethullah Gülen terror organization, differs from other terrorist organizations, because on paper, it doesn't sort of fit your classical definition.
Exactly, it doesn't fit to the classical definition, because when we talk about terrorism and terrorists, what we imagine is mostly, because of the Al-Qaeda impact, is just a guy with a turban, with a suicide belt. But the FETÖ organization is quite different from this standard picture. For one thing, the organization is not only a terror organization. There are different branches of the organization. There are different activities of it. There is the state channel of it, which infiltrates into the state to hijack the state apparatus, but there is also the civilian apparatus to that. So when we talk about terrorism as a definition, what we imply is mostly a non-state actor which uses violence or a clear threat of violence with some political motivation. And FETÖ, from that regard, fits the definition. It is a non-state actor. Yes, when we talk about July 15 coup attempt, we imagine it as a coup, which is correct, but it's not the entire story, because the organization is not a hidden branch in the state apparatus, but its center, its mastermind, its leadership, Fethullah Gülen, let's say, is a civilian person, which is not a state officer, which is not living in Turkey. So this entire leadership, that apparatus, is quite non-state actor in that regard. So it is not just a coup plot when we look back for the July 15th coup attempt. It is a terror organization, but it's more than that. So when we examine this case, it doesn't only operate through violent channels, but it also uses its infiltration activities to hijack certain information, some very high-level classified information, and to use it perhaps with some political relationship with some even state actors in that regard. So the entire goal, the entire motivation of the organization is not known to everybody, because it has this cult leadership of Fethullah Gülen, and not even the members, the militants of the organization, is 100% sure of that agenda.
Okay, Huseyin, Turkey has branded Fethullah Gülen as public enemy #1. Is the Fethullah Gülen terror organization still a threat, and how much of a threat, if so?
The threat is smaller now, because the Turkish state is dealing hard with this organization, not even after the coup attempt, but actually the state apparatus, the state security apparatus in Turkey figured out the hidden agenda of this organization as old as in 2013, and there is a reaction to this infiltration attempt. From that regard, the July 15 coup attempt was the last strike of this organization before it is too late for them. They failed, and now that kind of, what so-called purge activity, which I don't call it as a purge, but the state's self-defense against this organization is still going on, and the organization lost its strength within Turkey. But unfortunately, it is still quite strong, especially by using its network in the Western countries, from the United States to Western European countries, so-called allies of Turkey, where they have certain so-called think tank organizations, so-called, fabricated news organizations, and some other sorts of networks to recruit new people and to find financing for the organization. So it is very different from a standard terror organization like Al-Qaeda for that regard, because they are not only a terror organization, but there is a huge spread of activities the organization is dealing with, from recruitment to financing, from education to other propaganda activities. So it is also continuing some relationships with certain state-level actors on that regard, and this is how they preserve their existence in those countries. And Turkish officers suspect that, since they were in a very high positions in Turkey, from judiciary to police department, I think they are exchanging some classified information for that regard.
All right, certainly a different group. You say that it's a weakened group. Thank you for coming on set and explaining this so well to us. I do appreciate it.